gauge our current performance and hence our potential to grow, right? So this is where feedback becomes more important, because it is a external view which help us to kind of understand how we are performing and how we can improve, right? uh, while we all understand this, but what happens is many a times uh, we miss leveraging this opportunity. And when I say leveraging this opportunity, which not only is providing a feedback but asking for the feedback. A traditional understanding of feedback back in 90s, basically I'm sure many of us have started working uh, in that era. So that point in time, feedback to our mind was one call getting from the leader or manager saying that I want to talk to you, and that's where you started shivering. And the very first thought comes to your mind is, what I have done wrong, or this time what it will be about. Or you get one call at the end of the year saying, hey, you know what, let's come and discuss your uh, year end performance, right? So many a times it is done just because it is a process, or we have to formalize something, but feedback is way beyond that, right? So something which we need to remember about feedback is, especially while giving the feedback, ask for the permission, irrespective of the relationship. Even if you are a manager of a person, you have to respect and ask for the permission. This is utterly more important because of the social threats which we covered, right? SCARF, scarf model, which we covered. Second mistake generally which we need to avoid is, instead of comparing a person with a person, right, we should be talking more about situation, and ideally current versus ideal. If it is a behavior, current versus ideal, because when we start comparing one person with another person, again social threats pitch in, right? And once they pitch in and they get triggered as a threat, a person stop listening. Okay. And third point, which is more important, and by the way, this is taken from the art of coaching, because no matter whatever feedback we give or whatever uh, uh, activities we agree upon, unless and until both party agree on commitment, which is will to follow, it doesn't make any sense. And also take it from, look at this from one of the ITIL saying, the way it is said, you don't improve what you can't measure. So agreeing on a next step is basically the pillar how we start measuring. Fine. So again, let's take a little bit quicker look uh, to the feedback. So this is the messaging which I have covered. But okay, third point is, I want to elaborate on, whether we like it or not. Very often, even in current era, one of the most difficult conversation what a manager or leader find is to deliver feedback. And what is more worst is, poorly given feedback leads to it doesn't only, so okay, if it is not helping, if it is not helping to improve, it is not helping the person to understand things better, it is fine. But poorly given feedback often does the otherwise thing, and instead of getting engaged, person get more disengaged. And we'll see more in upcoming chart what are the social threats which kicking and kind of you know play their role. Now let's understand how to share requested feedback, right? uh, what we need to keep in mind is, our feedback has to be focused on the area for which it has been requested. So basically, uh, Just because somebody is humble enough and approach you to give the feedback, typically what we do tend to do, buy one get one or buy two get two, right? So uh, don't do that, right? Also, even if you feel you have something more to share, please be mindful of your boundary and take permission to go beyond, right? This is what a person will really appreciate. And there is a framework which I'll explain in brief, and it is very simple. Basically, this framework helps you to understand that what you should be framing. And again, don't get me wrong, uh, you can master the art of giving feedback only after practicing. So, if you are not good at it, fine. World will not fall apart if you say, okay, fine, you know what, let's talk about it after half an hour, and if you prepare on your speech, right? So this is a framework which will help you to improve on your art of delivering requested feedback, which is how you should frame, how you should contrast, and how you should commit, right? So next chart talks about how we share unrequested feedback. And why this is utterly important? Because, can I have some thoughts? What's the difference between what you can, let's move to chat. So what you can, what comes to your mind? Do you really think that requesting for feedback, I mean, if someone is giving a feedback, should there be a different approach when feedback is solicited or unsolicited? What's the difference? Should we have a difference, or it's a one size fits all? Obviously there is a chart, so there has to be a difference, but why and what should be the difference? Okay, so basically the answer is linked is as many as uh, just one sec guys. Hello. Sorry for that, got a call from mom. She is in Ahmedabad and I'm in Mumbai, and she is only staying there alone. So okay, I had to take that. So fine, so it has to be different because as many as four social traits, what we learned in SCARF model, plays the role when we approach someone and want to share unrequested feedback, right? And we have to share unrequested feedback for the simple reason, uh, as a leader, if we want someone to improve, right, this is the effective way to bring in improvement and enabling that person, right? So obviously status, certainty, autonomy, and relatedness, right? Because we don't want other person, because if we don't take care and frame it properly, it is very often that person will think about, oh, my leader is telling me this, so does he even know me, or is it even relevant, right? So this is a practice model which is different. Obviously, when a leader want to provide unrequested feedback, this should be adapted, right? So for example, take a permission, which is the first one. Can I talk to you for a few minutes to share my perspective or observation, right? Or instead of a we need to talk, instead of a focusing on act, rather talk about why you want to talk, right? And I'm being intentional because going forward, we will take a closure look of importance of language, right? Now, third thing, and this is very important, uh, most of us are master of giving feedback, at least that's what we believe, right? But uh, let's get back to chart and try to understand, uh, first of all, do you feel asking for feedback is important, and if so, then why we should be requesting feedback for? Okay, self improvement, which is fine. Okay, self awareness, fine. Okay, let me share an example, right? Retrospective realization, yeah. And what does it build? Channels, right? Perfect. Refl- Reflection of ourselves, that is also perfect. And why we have to reflect on ourselves? Why do we need to do that? To know what is lacking. Fantastic. Blind spot, bang on. That's a Rupali, right? So uh, I believe couple of sessions back, uh, it was Priya, if I'm not wrong, who covered the concept of Johari window. Correct. Johari window, a quick recap. That is again just like most of the philosophy, four quadrants, uh, 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 divided across what I know about myself, what I don't know about myself, what others know about myself, what others doesn't know about myself, right? And it is more about creating more self awareness. So there are two spots. If you see out of this four quadrant, there are two quadrants are what you don't know about yourself but other knows, and other spot is another quadrant is what you and others both don't know about yourself. So the way one should follow the Johari window is to enhance the quadrant of what I know and what others know quadrant, right? And the only way you can improve on what I as an individual doesn't know quadrants is asking for feedback, because of the very fact that because of the way our brain is wired, uh, we have a blind spot, right? And again, another neuro-linguistic reason is it helps us to see social traits as an opportunity, right? Because when you ask for the feedback, which means we saw when somebody is requesting a feedback, there are threats which plays in, and we need to ensure those doesn't get triggered in terms of a negative way. But when you ask for it, this trigger positive threats which are turning into the rewards. For example, status, instead of a being as a threat, it will be pursued as a reward, because of the simply fact that you know that by asking feedback, you are posing yourself as a curious, open to learning, and willing to grow, right? Again, sense of certainty and autonomy, because choice of receiving feedback is yours, and it is not otherwise in top-down model, right? Uh, One practice tool or a key process, which ideally, if we follow, will help us to receive meaningful feedback. Because understand, this conversation we are as a requester are initiating, right? So as I said, autonomy, we have option to choose what to ask for. And there are two kind of a feedback which we can focus, and that's a EBO model, the way I refer it. E stands for explicitly. So it is a feedback which is very focused on a specific area. So this gives you an opportunity to improve on a specific domain or a subject. At the same time, the disadvantage of using only this technique is, see, first of all, you are requesting for a feedback because a, somewhere you have accepted that what you know is not enough and there is a scope of a improvement, right? So again, you are into I don't know kind of a domain. So if you always ask explicitly, you will miss additional insights, and hence you should mix it with an art of asking broadly, because this gives an opportunity to the feedback provider without kicking any additional threats into his or her mind, right? Because when you are asking, definitely social traits will play a role in that person's mind as well, right? So by asking broadly, you are encouraging that person to tell you something beyond which is good for you, which you don't even know, right? And third is simply practice it often, because uh, unless and until you take a cross section across the time, right, and review your progress at that point in time, you won't know the trend, and hence won't be able to improve quicker, right? So that's a EBO model, and this is a practice tool, uh, how to ask for the feedback, right? So I'll quickly cover the example. uh, Instead of do you think I'm good at so and so, instead of that, I'm curious to get your viewpoint on, right? So this is, you are asking specifically and explicitly about where you want a person to give you a feedback, and leveraging which you can improve, right? Instead of saying uh, I made a mistake and I want to learn a better way to frame the sentences, I am asking multiple people for their thoughts, because if you focus on the language, uh, in the when you say I made a mistake, there are still social traits which are playing role. But when you frame the sentence, right, it also works for your brain, and your brain is focusing more on reward part of it instead of threat part of it, right? So that's a quick practice tool. uh, let's understand emotional reactions, and by the way, this is applicable for both, right? Whenever we are requesting for the feedback and whenever someone is giving a feedback. Truth trigger, I already spoke about it, right? Relationship trigger and identity trigger, which are leading from the scarf model. And there is a quick guide, how do we mitigate this? So requesting often, we already covered. Make it a conversation, and this is very important. This is the art of mixing, broadly and explicitly, what I said. Understand, feedback is a two-way conversation. If you are giving a feedback, make sure that you are listening the other person as well. Just because you are providing a feedback, which doesn't mean you read through whatever script you have written and be done with this, right? Ideal conversation should be, you should provide the feedback, also get a feedback on your feedback, and this is what you can do while you are agreeing on the next step, right? And be very open and listen actively, acknowledge, if required, set up one more conversation. It is not only one conversation, single session, 5-minute session, right? Make it a habit. Learn to build on what you have received from a person, and this goes on both the parties, right? And Again, cultivate on self goal. As I said, feedback is about improving, bringing in improvement in both the parties. So the more you stay focused and keep linking to the common goal, it will be more beneficiary and both the parties will be better engaged. Okay, so that was about uh, asking for feedback and giving feedback, solicited and unsolicited, right? So uh, now if feedback is so powerful tool to practice at one on one, definitely we want it to scale across the organization and hence to create a feedback culture. So let's move back to chart and can you share the thoughts? Any approach comes to your mind? How do we scale it at organizational level? Because traditionally we look feedback as one-on-one conversation. So if at organizational level we want to create a feedback culture, uh, what are the actions we should be taking, or how that can be scaled at organizational level? Any thoughts? Top down approach, mm, well, that's a slightly debatable. Okay, lead from the front, setting example. Yeah, so if top down is what you mean by that, I'm okay, right? Question is 360-degree feedback. Fine. So 360-degree feedback is also one of the example, right? So there is a simple approach which I want to share and which I keep practicing with my team, right? Understand one thing: we all, as a leader, uh, own the space what we create, right? Yeah, non-punishing policy, all that fantastic performance coaching. Yeah, okay, I'll get back to that. So uh, okay, let's get back to the presentation, right? So what I was saying, yeah, leader own the space. Having said that, the, one of the efficient approaches to practice a loop, and loop is continuously engaging with the team, validating and executing, right? And by the way, this loop you will practice in one session and you need to keep repeating these sessions. Now let me just take you through what do I mean by this model. So engage is all about creating the opportunity. It could be as simple as uh, retrospective, right? For example, you as a leader give an opportunity to the team to reflect together and just set up a meeting if required, right? And this is again, focus is on team, how we are doing collectively, what are the new activities you feel we should start which should be helping us to improve the, let's say, quality or speed or performance, etc., right? Start, stop, continue, change. And this philosophy, by the way, is not limited to or is not applied to one kind of a, I won't say even a knowledge area, but industry. This can be vastly practiced, right? It's an open frame model. So basically engage with the team to identify area of improvements, go a little bit deeper, pay attention, which means acknowledge participant, encourage participation. There are techniques to improve the participation, which is a different topic, but key is encourage team to participate, validate by summarizing what you hear, right? If required, do questioning, get clarity, and most importantly, appreciate their participation. And lastly, co-create the solution. This is very important because by involving them into the part of a making, it will be very easy for you to establish a joint accountability, and which is, by the way, very important because you don't want to get away in a meeting by establishing something as a leader which doesn't have buying from all. right? Because then that goal becomes a leader's goal and team has nothing to do with it. So joint accountability is a very important, I would say, ingredient to ensure and make each and every person as a part of a making and hence owning that, right? Implementation plan, as we know that again a plan do check at separate cycle follows, but what makes sense is why it is important, because as I said, even in one-on-one feedback, getting commitment and measure the progress, that also goes here, right? And again, thank each and every participant so that they stay motivated and engaged, right? So okay, these are some feedback comics. I thought, as they say, picture stays in memory for a longer time. So just look at this comic and what lesson comes to your mind. What do you think from this picture? What you would like to remember about feedback? Yeah, feedback is too late, right? So understand one thing: don't wait for year end. And this is what I do with my team, right? Timely feedback is important, right? So typically what I have started practicing since last 3 years for my team is, uh, uh, instead of doing one yearly assessment for their performance, uh, I have started scheduling quarterly reviews, and uh, that is with an open intent to learn together, right? And understand it's a learning process, right? And help each other to identify opportunity to course correct, right? At the same time, uh, I also have started one more conversation on a separate track, which is again quarterly, which is a career conversation, right? Because understand one thing, in nowadays, if you only talk about work, work, and work, which will tend to kind of employee will tend to uh, uh, lose either an interest, or he won't get any motivation if it is strictly about what you as a leader want or what company want, right? So it is extremely important that as a leader we also show an interest and demonstrate to the employee that we are equally interested in growth of that employee. So that's what I do differently. I call it a career conversation. I do it on a quarterly basis, which is focused only on the progress of that employee. Which means, for example, I would tell them to clearly laid out a plan that where they want to be or what additional skill they want to grow over next 1 year or 1.5 year. The reason I'm limiting to 1 year or 1.5 year is currently we know it is very complex and disruptive environment, industry environment. Gone are the days when one technology in IT industry was staying relevant for 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, right? So it makes sense to create a plan for less than 2 years because then it will be more relevant, right? So in addition to performance discussion, I do that discussion separately where I agree upon the career development plan for an employee and quarterly review what's the progress made and help the employee if there are any blockers or to do a course correction. And mind you, these both track are separate tracks and there is a purpose. These are separate tracks. I don't typically encourage while I am discussing about a performance, which is a performance review. I don't encourage employee bringing in his personal learning plan, right? At the same time, uh, uh, employees are tend to slip in into my promotion, my salary growth, while I'm discussing, having a conversation around his career and his growth. So the way I practice it, growth is where we all need to focus. And once growth is there, other things like compensation, promotion are more likely to follow automatically, right? So again, so yeah, but Rupal, I guess that was you. So feedback has to be timed well, right? Feedback given not on time doesn't help. There is one more example of it. I'm sure many of you would have come across so called Gyani Babas. And what I mean by Gyani Baba is, you would have noticed that they are typically not seen when team is facing some trouble or issues or going through difficult time, and they are struggling to make the decision, right? And most of us know that in such scenario, what important is to make a decision and move forward. There is a say, right, that we could be right, we could be wrong, only future can tell that. But in such scenario, what is important, we all are agreeing and traveling towards the same direction, single direction. Because if we don't move collectively in the agreed direction, there will be a further chaos, right? So ideally, the Gyani Babas, what I was saying is, those are kind of a people who would stay away whenever there is a need to collaborate, there is a need to help team taking brave decisions, and identify the direction. But they are mostly not found during that time. And whenever something goes wrong, inevitably they will be the first one to stand up and say, you know what, guys, you should have approached me, I would have tell you this, I would have told you that. And basically the intent is, uh, just because I was not approached, you are here where we are, and which is, by the way, not a success, right? So understand the importance of timely feedback. If you as a leader, it is expected from you to give the feedback on time, and that's where importance of giving unsolicited feedback. If you feel you should intervene, you should. uh, hey Rajesh, I'm not sure, that's not me who has given a pen. So Manoj, if you can,
Rajesh, it's sorry, it's not on my screen. Actually, your screen has been shared, so there is that some line on that. It's like a annotation.
okay. No, that's somebody has done a screen right. I don't know. I don't use that feature. It's not part of my charts for sure, Manoj.
Okay.
So okay.
When we
So
stop, when we take a break, we'll check. I'll check at that time.
sure. Okay, guys, quickly. Second comment. Yeah, thanks, Manoj. That's gone. So we all are not alike. That's a key message from this one, right? I'm moving little quickly. Understand and appreciate the uniqueness what all we have, and possibly accept the fact that we all are in one team, mostly because we are different. If all of us would have same level of skill and same type of skill, there was no need for all of us to be in a team. So uh, again, don't get me wrong with a flat organization and horizontal organization, but I'm sure you understand what I'm saying, right? So appreciate the uniqueness and differentness, I would say, of each other. This third comic, I'll move little fast, right? So this talks about resistance to feedback. Because if you do that for so long, be it asking or requesting, it will it will trigger the social threats, especially the autonomy. And mostly, by the way, we need to pay attention, because this is applicable to the leaders who typically tend to give the feedback, right? So as a leader, we shouldn't hold back the feedback. This is again goes back to understand, step back, and have a view at a larger picture, right? We all are part of the system because there is a need. And last one talks about, as we know, we work with uh, virtual teams, global team, which automatically bring in the nuances of people operating from different time zone or different culture, etc. So consciously identify those and appreciate those. Fine. Uh, Now, team, so I have prepared a small video which is a around feed forward. You might have heard this word. This is kind of a in buzz. Any thoughts? What is feed forward and why it is important? Have you heard of this? Okay, fine. So I was asking, what is a feed forward, right? So feed forward, if you can see, okay, most of the responses are no. So feed forward. So as the name suggests, right, feedback is mostly focused on past, right? Because we typically do a conversation like what you did would have been done better, or instead of this you would have done that, or and often it is driven on the result, what's an outcome, right? While feed forward is one approach where we are talking about future, irrespective of what has happened in past, or it could be how we improve in future, and this intent is proactive without waiting for receiving a feedback, right? So and the key difference in my opinion uh, between feedback and feed forward is feed forward is often joyful experience because it doesn't kick in any social threats, right? So let's watch this quick video, and let me know. I am moving to YouTube streaming. uh, this young man just texted me right now. Can you see did the screen changed or?
No, the screen has not changed, Kalpesh.
Okay, let me stop share and share it again. uh,
Yes.
okay, thank you. He took action with my program, which most people don't. He just made it. Feed forward. Now I'm going to teach you a very positive, upbeat way to help yourself get better, to help other people get better. It's a key component of my coaching process. It's called feed forward. Now in feed forward, you're in two roles. Role number one is called learn as much as I can. And when I teach the classes, I always ask, are there smart people in this room? Everyone says yes. Let's say if you had a chance to learn from these smart people, would you like to do that? Everybody says, of course. Role two is help as much as I can. Then I ask, are there nice people in the room? Everybody says yes. I said, if you had a chance to help these nice people, would you like to help them? And everybody says yes again. So I say, look, you're either going to be learning from these smart people, which is good, or helping these nice people, which is also good. Therefore, it is all good. Now, what are the rules of feed forward? Rule number one is no feedback about the past. No feedback about the past. We spend too much time in our lives talking about the past. Have you ever been impressed with your husband, wife, or partner's near photographic memory of your previous sins, which have been documented and will be shared with you in a repetitive and annoying way? Well, you know what? We can't change the past anyway. Rule one, no feedback about the past. Rule two is harder. You can't judge or critique ideas.
In feed forward, you're asked to ask for input and listen to it without judging or critiquing. A good philosophy is, when I get an idea, I should treat it like a gift. Treat the idea like a gift. Now, if somebody gives me a gift, should I say, stinky gift, bad gift, I don't like your stupid gift? What should we say when somebody gives us a gift? Thank you. Treat the input like a gift and you say thank you. Now, how does feed forward work? Well, you can do this with a team, a large group. I've done it from 6 to 6,000. Each person picks one area to improve. Not 30, not 50, not 101. And whatever they pick needs to come from their heart. Then each person says, my name is, I want to get better at. The other person gives them 1 or 2 very quick ideas for the future, no feedback about the past. They say, thank you. The other person says, my name is, I want to get better at. 1 or 2 quick ideas for the future, no feedback about the past, thank you. They shake hands and rush off and talk to another person. The goal is to talk to as many people as you can when I do this in a large group, maybe in 5 or 6 minutes. At the end of the exercise, I say to the group, I want you to complete this sentence with 1 word. This exercise was, and they all say positive, simple, helpful, even fun. What's the last word you think to describe any feedback activity? Fun. Someone ever called you up and said, I have feedback for you. I'd like to have you come into my office. And you said, fun, fun, fun. Fun is the last word you think of. Yet when I do the feed forward exercise, no matter what country I'm in, 95% of the people say it's positive, useful, helpful, or even fun. Then I ask, why? Why do people see this as fun as opposed to painful? And they say, well, to start with, it's fast. One thing we do about coaching is we talk too much. And in this exercise, you learn to give 1 or 2 very quick ideas. Don't babble on. By the way, if I'm doing coaching, we often talk too much. I give you my best idea. Now I talk some more. My second best idea. I talk for an hour. My 75th best idea. What happens to the quality of our ideas? We keep babbling. They get worse and worse and worse. And you don't remember my first good idea. You remember my last stupid idea. Another term is it's simple. It's not too complicated. It's positive. It's focused on a future you can change, not a past you can't change anyway. Have you ever made a fool of yourself in front of important people before? How much fun is it to relive that event? Well, that's not a whole lot of fun. This is focused on what you can change, not what you can't change. Some other comments. No judging. I always tell the group, if I would have allowed you to judge or critique each other's comments, you'd have spent twice as much time debating about the comments as listening to the comments. How much do I learn proving you're wrong? Nothing. How much do I learn proving I'm right? Nothing. What % of all interpersonal communication time is spent on somebody talking about how smart they are, how dumb somebody else is? About 65% of all time is wasted on that. Cut that out. Life is much, much more positive. One gentleman said, I listen better in this feed forward exercise than I almost ever listened in my life. Ask him why. He said, normally when other people talk to me, I'm so busy composing my next comment to prove how smart I am not really listening. I'm just composing. The irony, he had a Nobel Prize. A man with a Nobel Prize in a management class trying to prove he was smart. I said, look, you got 1 Nobel Prize, you're not going to win 2, it's okay. Let's just declare victory here. Well, a couple of final points on feed forward that make this work. A common misconception of coaching is I have to have a deep knowledge of you to help you. I've done this with groups of people that didn't even know each other, and they're shocked how much they learn. Sometimes we learn more from people we don't even know. They don't have stereotype, they don't have history, they don't have baggage. A bigger misconception of feed forward is I have to be better than you to help you, or superior to you, or you have to be smarter than me to help me. Wrong. At the end of the exercise, when I work with large groups, I say, how many of you felt the need to say this to the people around you? I have your problem too. I have your problem too. I have your problem too. They almost all raise their hands. It doesn't matter what country I'm in. Even though our cultures are different, in here, we're not the difference. We're not that different on the inside. And most people say, I am amazed at how similar everyone else's issues are to my own issues. Well, we don't have to be better than others to help others. Better off being a fellow human being, stumbling through life without clear answers to tiny little questions like, who am I? Where are we? And what is going on here? That's all we are anyway. We're not little gods. We're just little confused people stumbling around. What's great about feed forward is the whole focus is on helping each other, not judging each other. So if you look at feed forward, a very simple process. What do you learn? You learn to ask for input. You learn to listen non-defensively. You learn to say thank you and give people recognition for what they say. You treat it as a gift. You don't have to use the gift. You listen to it and you thank them for giving you the gift. And on the other end, you learn not to judge. You learn not to critique. What's great about feed forward is everyone is focused on helping everyone. No one is focused on judging everyone.
Okay, I hope you like the idea. Let me switch back to presentation and understand one thing. The reason.
Kalpesh, can you speak a little louder?
Okay, so is it better, Manoj?
Yes.
Yeah. So I hope you like the idea and understand feed forward is nothing but resonate. What we covered in detail is about art of asking feedback, which is nothing but proactively approach someone and practice EBO, right? Explicitly, broadly, and often. Okay. So with this, let's move to the next module, which is a brave leadership. And before we start that, come on, guys, let's jump on the chat. What's the innovation in your understanding? Even though we covered this in our earlier session, let's share the thoughts as per you. What is innovation? Doing traditional, think outside the box. Yeah, one idea. Okay, implement idea out of the box. Okay, I see only two. Yeah. Okay, we all have different perspective, and there is. I'm not surprised because if you carefully review what is the definition of innovation, it will vary from organization to organization, right? Yeah, novel, new idea, fine. So it will vary from organization to organization. However, the intent is to improve upon what we are currently doing by either creating a new product or new service or improving upon service. Intent is always to create a better product, or if it is a process, to improve the speed or quality, or bring in more simplification or productivity increase, the way we know this, right? So again, interesting question. So what do you think, if someone have to innovate, is it always driven by invention? Is invention mandatory to bring in the innovation? No, right? Right. Most of us are saying no because we understand. Basically, let me just explain you with an example. If I have to say original telephone, I would call that as an innovation. But then possibly landline phones were innovation arguably, but that was uh, uh, that was kind of a enhancement, I would say, right? And smartphone, yes, that's a innovation, right? So uh, and we also understood and we understand, uh, for enabling team to unleash innovation, we have to create engaged environment, we have to enable the team, we have to take out the fear and all that, right? So uh, what comes to your mind when we talk about enemy of innovation? We know a lot of things what we should be doing, but what are the detractors or blockers which doesn't allow innovation to kick in any organization or any team? Fixed mindset. Okay. Forced into limit. Okay, restriction of ideas. Okay, resource limited. Okay, admin to change punishment. Okay, how about, let me so we are focusing on behavior. So yeah, fear finding attitude, right? So understand, you all are talking about and the, I would say, traits which are influencing the environment, right? But what they ultimately end up creating is fear and silence, right? Because if environment is not safe enough, not open enough, which is, by the way, again, Maslow's hierarchical need. That's a theory. I'm sure we all gone through during PMI certification, right? Where he's saying if you take care of the basic needs of a human, which is around safety and love and care and all that, uh, that will help person to get self-esteem, and he will perform to the best of the potential, right? So whenever there is a hostile environment which is otherwise, what happens is employees will typically stay away from talking publicly, and instead of that there will be a whisper, and actual discussion or ideas which will contribute to bring in the improvement, unfortunately, are whispered among the team, and leader is not even knowing about it, right? So we want it otherwise. So ideally, three ways: trusting the team, that is first one. Someone mentioned politics, right? So that was a bang on. Ideally, as a leader, you have to be consistent and govern on basis of principles which are well defined and well publicized, instead of a politics, right? And experimenting, importance of experimenting, we covered in earlier session. That is again very relevant, because that gives them an assurance that we as a leader understand whenever you are going to do something new, you will make a mistake, and it is okay as long as we learn from it and next time make the new mistake instead of repeating the mistake, right? So now let's continue with the brave leadership. So by brave leadership, what we really mean is, uh, as a brave leader, right, or the traits of brave leader, the way we see, they typically create trust based relationship. Trust has a 7 different pillars, which we'll cover in coming chart, right? Grow from failure, we just spoke about, making new mistake and all that. That is not applicable only for the team, but for you as a leader as well, right? Focus on values, because by doing so, you are leading with clarity, correct? And courage to be vulnerable. Now, vulnerable, let's build on this. So, what do you think vulnerability is? Let's get back to chat. What do you think? What is vulnerability, and why we are saying if you have to be a leader or brave leader, you have to be practicing vulnerability. Lack of thinking outside the box. First of all, let's understand: is it a strength or weakness? What do you think? Okay, fine. So this is a definition of vulnerability, right? Vulnerability is equivalent to put together uncertainty plus risk plus emotional exposure. And let me explain you uh, this further. The vulnerability, most of us believe, and these are typically the myths about vulnerability, right? That it is a weakness. Let me start with that. Uh, but ideally, it is a paradox within us. While vulnerability looks like a courage in me, but it feels like a weakness. Second thing, few leader may think about, come on, I am a leader, uh, I can opt out. this is not applicable to me. But understand, we all, the way we are living, which is our life is full of uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure, which is a vulnerability. These are part of our life. So be it a leader or be it a team member, it is inevitable. And third myth, many look vulnerability as kind of a oversharing. While oversharing lead to connect or disconnect between two people, however, vulnerability is a intentional sharing with a person to initiate a connect, to create a bond, and not the otherwise, right? So understand this paradox. To understand this paradox a little better, uh, uh, okay, we all as a human being, we understand, we call ourselves as a social animal, and that's what we started learning from schooling, right? Which means we create, and we typically love to create bonds and connects with people. But in this process, right, if there is a person who is having shame or sense of personal unworthiness, typically connection is getting blocked, right? Because the underpinning shame is the feeling of that person that I am vulnerable, these are my limits, and it is painful, right? and and this happens, so when this is possibly one of the reason, right? Mostly uh, people tend to take the route of either addiction or religious or finger pointing or perfection. There is a self unworthiness feeling, which is not good, which is kind of a disaster, right? But in the contrast, individual with a same sense of worthiness, they will embrace their vulnerability. They will view it neither as a painful or uncomfortable. Instead, they will simply accept it as a necessity, right? So ideally, as a leader, we should practice courage to be flawed, right? Take emotional risk. And when I say accept to be flawed, which means we all understand the very first step of improvement is accepting that we need to improve. It is in that context, right? So what does a good brave leader does? He basically accept the situation, accept that yes, this is something I cannot manage, ask for help with the relevant people, and there is a rule of a boundary we'll talk about. At the same time, they not only share but are open for uncongenial ideas. So those are unconventional ideas. Typically, person would not want to move or use them, right? So they are open for any possible ideas, right? So I would read through this in interest of time, but uh, again, while discussing vulnerability, you can read through this later. We also said, I mentioned, they have courage. So courage is a different term. So let's reflect together on chat box. What do you think courage is? It is definitely different than vulnerability. It takes courage to become vulnerable, right? But what is courage altogether? Any thoughts? How do you define courage? Overcome fear, something to own, ability to, okay, deal with fear, ability to speak up, bang on, right? Your mind and ideas. Okay, thank you. So let me build on ability to speak up, right? Uh, I'm sure most of us uh, would have lived that moment that there is a team call going on or team is reflecting collectively. Uh, uh, leader is asking for the idea. You have one idea, but which you think is not worthy enough to share. You are holding back that thought within you. And then someone comes up with that idea and bang, that is the idea of the day, possibly idea of the week. Entire leadership with larger forum are like, man, where you were, right? And you just have that left alone feeling that only if I would have courage to speak up and share, this is for me. This all appreciation, ideally, I feel I am worthy about, but often we are unable to claim it because we are not willing to show up ourselves and letting ourselves to be seen, right? So that is at individual level, but more and more such leaders practicing courage typically are required for a healthy organization who want to progress fast. And interestingly, I know all of us are aware, but I want to draw your attention to the fact that courage is contagious. uh, there is there is a very beautiful and funny video on YouTube. In interest of time, I won't be playing that, but you can go and Google it. It is about importance of the follower, right? So what I want to say this, understand one thing: it is not only the leader who has to be courageous, or leader is not the leader just because he is courageous. There are of course many other traits, but understand the philosophy. Leader becomes a leader because he has a courage to do something different, which has resonated with other people, and hence he is having followers, right? So there is a importance of there is a specific importance and kind of a, recognition given to the first follower, because the first follower is a person who has believed in the leader and done repeated his leader's act to do something differently, and because of the first follower, that person has become a leader, right? And likewise, but the key messaging is courage is contagious, and it is not necessarily that only leaders has to practice the courage. It goes at all level, right? Courage practice guide, I'll move this quickly. uh, Clarity of values, right? Because once you are confident, then only you are more vocal about. Focus on continuous learning, that's what it is. Vulnerability, there is a trait on the side table, just go through, we have covered most of them, right? And more importantly, practice trust. And trust is a while altogether different topic, but I have just mentioned all those because we won't be able to cover those in depth, but those are mainly accountability, reliability, integrity, being generous, right? Focused on value, being non-judgmental, and boundaries. Boundaries I'll elaborate a little bit more, right? So uh, can you imagine a leader standing in front of let's say stockholders or the investors, and telling that, you know what, I can't deliver on results because of reason A, B, C, D? That's not good thing to do, right? There has to be always a boundary. And for this, just like that, imagine, when we talk about boundaries and practicing courageous, as a leader, you should be able to stand in front of your team, and you should have courage to say, okay, I listen you, I got your concern, I do not have the answer, but stay invested, I will help get clarity, I will take whatever help I need to take to bring in the clarity, and in the process I will keep listening to you till I bring in the clarity. That's a courage what we want to have. In earlier example, critical problems, leader has to be mindful and share it with a person who doesn't have only need but also be able to contribute. So which is basically a peer discussion or like that way. But point here is, in vulnerability, even a leader is not a super person, superhero, right? He or she also needs help. So that is the acceptance, and that's where the progress begins. Okay. uh, Now the last topic, I believe if you all are okay, we'll continue for 5 more minutes and then we'll take a break, which is about language of courage and vulnerability. So, guys, let's get super active on chat, and can we reflect collectively uh, how we get our work done, or how our team create the deliverable? Okay, collaboratively, that's one. What else? Teamwork, delegate. Okay, you are telling me all the good things, which is fine, but basically when many people work together as a team, what happens? We come with a different mindset. Yeah, negotiate is because we have different people with different approach. Somebody would be insisting on perfection, somebody would be insisting on uh, end result, carrot and stick, right? There are different kind of type of a mindset, right? Even considering current agile environment, right? They are compiled to learn the new things, else there is a risk they will be left alone, right? So fine. So uh, these are the different ways team is getting the work done, right? Now let's quickly reflect on what is the motivation or purpose behind what they do. So basically I am asking you to go one level deeper and let's reflect why they are doing what they are doing. We talked about what they are doing, under what circumstances, right? Why they are doing, okay, goal satisfaction. Fine, okay. So let me stop here and move forward, right? Because have you noticed, when we talk about how we are getting work done, number of responses were quite high compared to when we try to reflect why they are doing. And this is typically we end up doing in real world, where too often we focus on the outcome, right? Pass fail, or we get lost into how one should be doing things, which is a focus on process, instead of focusing on the very purpose of the process, which is the why part of it, right? So uh, and take this exercise and implement this at your work, right? Because what this will do, this will help us to create more self awareness, right? And if we have better self awareness, I see this as, how do I encourage others to be more powerful, or how do I help others to grow? Because helping ourselves is a first step which we should take before we intend to help other, right? And more importantly, this awareness makes us to see other person as an individual and not an object. Okay. uh, Now quickly, so having understood focus on how and why part. Now let's reflect collectively. And I told you about creating a self-awareness, and assume you have self-awareness. How differently you will start looking at your team now compared to earlier how and why part. Okay, so typically when you do this, you start realizing, yeah, assess strength of each team member, and when you apply this filter, you will understand what great things our team is doing, right? You will understand how they are adaptive, you will understand how effectively they are collaborating, you will understand how they are committed. So basically collaboration, yeah, and collaboration, and if I have to quantify that, basically if you practice this, you will realize there is an opportunity to share and scale. And this is a difference between, this is a key difference, one of the key differences between servant leadership and command and control, right? Correct. And in this entire process, what you will gain is, you as a leader will discover your purpose of leadership. And once you identify your purpose of leadership, then your language will automatically start get aligned with your why, which is purpose of your leadership. And hence there is an importance of language in, especially not only courage and vulnerability, but overall landscape of servant leadership. uh, Fine. So Manoj, we can take quick 5 minute break. I would request 5 minutes and not 10, so that we can complete today. Is it okay?
Yeah, yeah. So what I can do is, if you can remove the share, I'll share our presentation, and then when you're back, I'll just take a couple of minutes, and then you can take over.
uh, sure. So you don't intend to oh, you are sharing. And so what time we begin? It is 11:24. At 11:30.
11:24. Yeah, 11:30 will start, and I'll start a minute before that.
Okay, okay, thank you. So 11:29 you start, 11:30 I'll start. Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Everybody can see my screen.
Yes, Manoj, I can.
Yes, we can, Manoj.
I'm just checking if I have a friend of mine, Fahad. Fahad, have you joined this session? Fahad, if you're there, please unmute yourself. All right. Good morning, everybody. This is Manoj Sarsapan here. Can you see my screen now?
I want to really pick up my stamina.
Yes, Manoj. It's
Okay, so just thought I'll quickly go through this PowerPoint presentation, what I'm showing you guys. So during the COVID era, this was the PM forums were conducted from 29th of March till today. And another announcement that I would like to mention is about the visual thinking program, which is on 23rd of May. I would request, so we have an early bird, which was there till 16th of May, but I'm extending that till tomorrow, that is till 18th of May. So those who want can still register for this workshop today and tomorrow at 2,500 for members and 3,000 for non-members. As you're aware, PMI Mumbai chapter is supporting COVID-19 warriors, and we request all the members, to support this initiative either through some voluntary donation or even through any activity with the chapter will be carrying out shortly. So these are the bank details from where you can submit your donations. Lastly, I'm looking for some speakers who can talk on certain suggested topics like leadership, mental strength, work-life blend, improving your lifestyles in the current COVID era, and also improving communication. So if anyone of y'all are willing to take up this kind of topics, or you have somebody who can conduct these sessions, please let me know. My email is given this out here, manoj.sarsapan@gmail.com, or you can also contact me at programs@pmimumbaichapter.org. Kalpesh, are you back?
Yes, Manoj, I am. I'll start screen share.
And one more thing, actually, I had invited my friend Fahad Ahmad, who's the president of Karachi chapter, Pakistan, for today's session. Unfortunately, I think he could not join us. That's the reason I was looking for him. Maybe I'll invite him in the next session, and then he's also been running a lot of sessions on a lot of leadership and other programs. So probably we can have him as a speaker next time. Thank you. Over to you, Kalpesh.
Thank you so much. So, okay, team, we are back, and let's continue our journey to learn servant leadership and with a VUCA environment, right? So, VUCA, let me tell you a quick. So, Manoj, my screen is visible, right? Presentation.
Yes.
Okay, okay. So basically, before we start understanding, right? So as I said earlier, environment is very important because it impact not only our leadership but our team. And in agile environment, it's a leader who own the space, right? Own the environment. Basically, VUCA term has come out of a military culture where soldiers enter into typically an environment which is volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous, which is, by the way, V, U, C, and A. And uh, more or less, if you really look through the agile workspace, where client requirement keep changing, and you see other factors of industry competition, or let's say regulations, etc., more or less current landscape is kind of a VUCA environment, right? So let's first look at the video, which will help you to understand this better. And
Kalpesh, you need to speak a little louder. I think people are not able to hear you.
Okay. So I have switched to a video. Basically, guys, can you see my screen?
We can see the video, the PPT.
PPT. Oh, okay, sure. And I hope my audio is also better. I'll stay near. So here is a video, guys, and let's understand what the VUCA world is. Okay, I'm just playing that.
So this is the world we talked about. David hinted at this. This is the VUCA world. And this is the setting for the 10-year forecast. So it's volatile, it's uncertain, it's complex, it's ambiguous. And as you think 10 years ahead, it's going to get worse. It's not going to get better. It's not going to get calmer. It's not going to go back to the way that it was. It's going to get more VUCA. So leaders, especially values-linked leaders, have to emphasize that VUCA world and have to assume it and have to say, I'm going to win anyway, and not expect it to go back to the way that it was. So we've kind of worked with that. This term was actually developed in the military, and we've worked with that and thought, as you think 10 years ahead, we've realized that volatility yields to vision. So in a VUCA world, vision gets rewarded in an unusually high way. Uncertainty yields to understanding, and it could be understanding of customers and consumers. It could be other kinds of understanding. Complexity yields to clarity. And here, the ugly truth of the VUCA world is clarity gets rewarded even if it's wrong, because people are so confused. Now, I don't recommend this. If you're clear and wrong, you get in trouble down the line, and we've got lots of lessons from Washington in recent years of people who have been very clear, but turned out to be wrong. That's not what you want to do. What you need is clarity, simplicity, without being simplistic. That's the delicate leadership challenge. And finally, no matter what you do in this world, you have to be agile. It's all about agility.
I wanted to make one comment, and that is, I was recently, about 3 days ago, talking to our COO, who's an expat working with the Japanese business. And he was telling me the story that he lived through of the earthquake and the tsunami and the nuclear disaster that's occurred there. And it was quite a compelling story, but one of the points that he made, and he was actually a participant in our global leadership program, and I asked him, so, you've personally experienced what we would call probably one of the most VUCA situations you could possibly imagine. How did you manage that? How did you get through that? And the thing that kept coming through in terms of his discussion around how the leadership team managed that was clarity. This issue of, in that uncertain, chaotic situation, they saw their role as creating clarity, and they had to do that for the people they were leading through prioritization and through understanding that people came first. They needed to take care of that. But throughout that whole event, and even now, their role is really one of trying to create some clarity in this chaos and VUCA world.
Yes. So the big lesson from the VUCA world about strategy is you have to be very clear where you're going, but very flexible how you get there. So here's where values come in again. You have to be very clear about your values, but very flexible how you get there. That's the hard part. How do you keep that clarity with the flexibility? So this is more the VUCA world that we experience. April 15th of last year, I was in London. I did a keynote talk for a big innovation conference, innovation leaders all around Europe. And I did my morning talk on the VUCA world and cloud computing. And at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, this cloud descended on London. This is the first of the volcanic ash clouds. It seems like they come up every week now, but this was the volcanic ash cloud that closed British airspace for the first time in history. So I do my morning keynote talk, and then in the afternoon, this cloud descends upon us. We all took note. Those of us who read Carl Jung said, synchronicity. There's some meaning here that's happening. But this is the kind of thing we all have to figure out how to respond to. That same week was the week of the BP oil spill disaster. So we had 2 VUCA world events in 1 week. We all have to be prepared for that. We all have to game that in advance.
Okay. I'm sure audio was clear, at least for that quick video around VUCA world. So let's move back to the presentation and start with a very interesting activity. Let's do one quick exercise, see how better we are able to do that. I'm just telling you the ground rules, right? Basically, for this exercise, we will need 8 participants, right, or volunteer, preferably those who have logged in today's session with a laptop, because you will need to type in. So, and are under good network connectivity, we will use the chat functionality, right? This team need to create a VUCA story, and the way we will create is, it is a co-creation, which means we'll identify the order. I'll identify the order, and the first person should start writing 1 or 2 sentences to begin the story with, and rest of the people will follow. And this is how all 8 people, for the in interest of time, let's limit number to 5. So those 5 people will create a VUCA story. So on chart, can I have 5 nominations or participants? Quick fingers first, who are using laptop and having good network connectivity. Okay, Shobit, you can go. Rupa. Who else? Shobit, Rupa, Nitin. We need two more, or we can do with one person. Someone else? Okay, fine. So let's define the order and let's keep it alphabetically. So Nitin, you will go first. Then Ramyajit, you can go second. Then Rupa, you will go third. And Shobit, you will go next. Right? So you need to create a VUCA story. And for the purpose of this activity, if you want to collaborate, feel free to unmute yourself, right? And have a discussion. We will allow you 5 minutes to come up with a story around VUCA environment. Each one of you need to contribute with 1 or 2 sentences and complete this in the order which we just agreed, and do this in 5 minutes. So feel free to unmute, and next 5 minutes is yours. And we collectively as a team, let's observe how they are co-creating.
Hello team, Nitin here. Good morning.
Yeah, all 5 can unmute and just go. We won't intervene.
Yeah, hi Nitin, Rupa here.
Yeah, can I know the names of the team members?
This is Shobit.
Yeah, good. Now this story is new to me, but I'm putting one experience of carrying out construction projects, turnkey projects in Uttar Pradesh, where we faced a huge amount of challenges and great amount of risk were involved, and there is a lot of uncertainty of receipt of payments and thereby the growth of the organization. So these is a real-time example which we have undergone this pain last 3 years in my organization. So this is what I thought of putting as a story here as the beginning. How do you find it?
I'm okay with it.
Shobit, how about you?
Sure. Is it also, I mean, if you can also give a little bit more background on what the challenges were?
Yeah, challenges were the shortened time period of completion of projects, a lot of constraints in getting clearances from the client, and the client not agreeing to the time extensions for the project completion, and then recovery of liquidated damages, that is penalty from the bills, and even large delays in release of payments.
Okay, cool.
These sort
And
of
what was the kind of project you were working
We
on?
had undertaken construction of turnkey projects, turnkey dairy projects in Uttar Pradesh, 10 dairy plants in Uttar Pradesh. It was a first experience of getting it done on a very shorter space of time with a lot of constraints in terms of good agencies to execute the job, not getting the proper agencies. Even the statutory clearances, local clearances were not available. Land ownership documents were not available. And then still the client was expecting us to complete the projects.
Okay.
Yeah. So I thought this VUCA it fits. The lot of volatile environment was there.
Yes.
The uncertainty of getting the things completed was there. Then there was a lot of complex environment with the client. They were not willing to listen our problems. Even within our team, within our organizations, our top management was very hostile. They started pinpointing the faults of the team members and the other group members, and the questioning taking the job as such. And then we started becoming very taking up the job on collaborative platform and completing the job on whatever time, extended time, and ultimately we could achieve completion of 8 projects out of 10 as of now. They've been put on stream. They have been operating last 1 year.
Okay, we have, I
We are
think
yet to
we
get
have
the payment.
one
Yeah,
more.
we are yet to get the payments for the works done, which is amounting more than 40 crores is outstanding. So this is out of 250 crore, 40 crore is still outstanding. And there is total uncertainty on when we will get these payments.
Sure. So I think we have one more team member, Ramyajit, who also volunteered. So we can also include Ramyajit. But if you could start with your initial sentences, Nitin.
Initial sentences means what? I put the line straight away?
Yeah, as Kalpesh mentioned, if you start writing in 1 or 2 sentences, and then we will follow up.
Nah, matlam. Matlam.
Need to be mindful about the time here.
Okay, we'll wait for 1 more minute and then take a cut off in wherever the story is.
Yeah, Sobit, you can do it further.
Rupa, you are next.
Yeah, Sobit, further.
Okay, guys, thank you so much, Nitin, Shobit, Rupa, and there were there was one more person, right? Apologies, I don't get your name. I have to scroll down. We are Ramyajit, right? So, uh, team, let's reflect together. What are your observations from this small exercise? What we just did. Don't judge it. Was it good? Was it bad? Irrespective of the end result. All the volunteers, please go back to the mute so that we continue, because now we'll be collaborating only on the chat, right? No, not in terms of good or bad, or not in terms of success and failure, but what are your observations? What have you observed? What this team was doing? Do you think the topic which was selected? Do you think everyone was aware or was having a domain knowledge of that area? No, right? Uh, do you think if it would have been current COVID-19 or lockdown scenario, that would have been more meaningful and help create more clarity, right? However, irrespective of choosing the topic, see, the point is, they all were iterating in the beginning, collaborating, trying to get whatever help or information they can gather, right? And at initially, they all were very participative and collaborating. However, at one point in time, when they reach to a decision, irrespective of right or wrong, they started iterating one by one, right? So initially there was a lot of chatter, but the moment when they were typing in, ideally they were listening and focusing on what other person is doing to build on, right? And this is merely because they get interested to know what other person is doing, correct? So in this entire exercise, and in a typical normal workshop, we conduct this exercise for good 30-40 minutes, right? But let me share the kind of observations what we typically get from those exercises is, uh, once people have clarity, they start to contribute. This is the importance of bringing in clarity into VUCA environment, right? And as we understand from the video, it need not be necessarily we should spending time to make sense at times whether that is right or wrong, because only future can tell that, right? But what is more important, to bring in clarity, right? Another important element is to become to being more self-aware, right? So after this activity, let's continue to focusing uh, what are the traits, right, at teaming level. We talked about leader. Let's understand the traits at teaming level. uh, how does a successful team look like under VUCA environment? And I have realized and adapted somehow. I need to always stop share and share it again, which I am doing. Oops, someone else has shared the screen. That is Dhiren. Can you please unshare your screen? Thank you. Okay, let's understand how does a team look like in Agile and VUCA environment.
Businesses are built on teams, and you've done a lot of research on what you call dynamic teams. And how does that fit in with what we're talking about in terms of culture? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Well, if you look at organizations today, you know, in our industrial age organizations, we used to think about the individual as the focal point. Just think about the notion of an organization chart. What is an organization chart? It's a name of a lot of individuals and their titles and their reporting relationships that depicts the formal dynamics of an organization. Today, the world has become much faster, more dynamic, more fluid, more unpredictable, more complex. It's what many call the VUCA world: volatile, uncertain, complex, ambiguous. And in this kind of an environment, in the new world that we're entering, teams are becoming the key building block of an organization. No individual on their own has the knowledge, the capacity to really drive major activities. So because of that, we are really thinking about teams today as the key driver of organizational success. And I've spent a lot of time looking at, you know, what enables some teams to succeed and others to fail. Secondly, I would say our teams are now much more global in nature. they're distributed, they're located in different parts of the world. So what we mean by teams has foundationally changed. So before, teams used to live under one roof, they were co-located, and now they're distributed. They're multicultural. So that also adds a new set of dynamics and complexity to managing teams. And that's why you cannot think about organizational success without thinking about how you configure your teams, how you lead your teams, how you evolve and adapt your teams, how you interact with your team members. So the different aspects of team dynamics are going to become much more significant.
Okay, I am moving back to the presentation. Allow me a minute as I navigate. Uh, Fine. So basically, two things we understood: what is a VUCA world, and as a leader, who brings in clarity typically gets rewarded, right? And second, very important thing is adaptability, accept changes, so that you can, I would say, sustain and survive. And if you want to lead the VUCA world, right? So let's move to next. So leading through VUCA environment, that requires bringing in clarity, that requires leading with agility, create and own the environment, as I said. And there is an interesting thing, I am sure all of us know, but we have never noticed. But I'm sure most of you would have experienced or you have come across either a leader or manager to whom you are reporting has got changed, and you are reporting to a new leader. Or if you are a leader, you have changed a role and you have started managing a different team. I'm sure all of you would have noticed in all this transition, only the people with whom you interact is getting changed. But as a leader, whatever environment, whatever workspace, whatever values you have created as a leader, that typically moves along with you, right? So ideally, whatever work environment a leader is creating, that keep moving with that leader, right? And hence leader own the environment, right? And lastly is very important, which is as a leader being very intentional and essential to ask the right set of a question to the team. So there are two approaches, right? One, on the performance goal, or while setting KPI, you would say you have to learn 5 new skills in next year. And another effective way is by asking a right set of a question and making the team member understand that why that is required, right? Because that will stick better. And this has to be practiced, that is, as I said earlier, this is a VUCA environment. So don't wait for year end. Whenever it is required, keep having this conversation, keep asking questions to ensure employee skills not only there, but your skill as well as a leader are relevant. Fine. So we talked about clarity. So this is again clarity tool which is linked with social threats. What we said, I won't be covering in interest of time. Do less and do more. Yeah, but this is the intention, right? So let me explain you by taking a couple of examples. So imagine a manager is sending an email to the entire team, and unintentionally one employee is left off. He has not got that communication. Imagine the scenario. It will create a threat of social social trait of identity, right? Am I not important? So as a leader, we need to ensure we keep people in loop. I'll give you one more example. Many a times in real life scenario, uh, 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 if you are a team member, you would realize that a work assignment or a project on which you wanted to work, that has been assigned to your colleague, right? And imagine a scenario you are not even told by your manager. Then again, for that employee, this will lead to a thought process saying that am I not relevant, or do I have any future? That's a certainty, right? However, if a leader is proactively engaging and help explaining, for example, you are already good at it. The reason I have identified different team member, because he or she is yet to grow this skill. And by the way, the upcoming project is having more this kind of a scope of work, and hence I want to train that employee. But having said that, please act as a mentor to that new person so that he and she can learn from your experience. Just imagine kind of a experience you will be able to create, right? That is bringing in clarity. Now we'll quickly understand the power of words, and for that, let me start with a video, and just watch the video, and then we will reflect again. And which means I will again need to stop share, and just one second, give me a second, guys. I'll stop share and share it again. I'm sure you all can see this. I'm playing this.
What did you do to my sign?
I wrote the same, different words.
Uh, okay. I'm sure you would have liked this video. Can we quickly reflect on chat? What are your thoughts? Oops, sharing has gone. Okay, guys, please collaborate. Please collaborate. As I said, if we are short on time, we have to increase collaboration, right? So unless and until you collaborate effectively, we won't be helping each other without new and fresh views, right? Fine. So choose the right word. But interestingly, it may surprise you that choosing a right word establish the connection at different level, right? We talked about 3 layers: outer layer, intermittent, and core layer, right? So this is about connecting with a person at emotional level. That's what the magic, the letter message did. It connected emotionally with whomsoever read that. Fine. uh, with this also, let me quickly share a couple of things. Power of words, positive words, right? So, and this is something near to my heart. So basically I did my schooling in St. Xavier's, Loyola Hall, Ahmedabad, and there we had a topic called moral science, Jivan Vigyan, the way they were saying that from standard 5th onwards, right? So my teacher in standard 6th, uh, 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 Asha ma'am, uh, she one day walked into the class, and she defined some ground rules. Now we are calling ground rules, but those were kind of a guidelines, and if you don't follow that, there is a punishment. So ground rule was not to use negative words, right? Which means I am not supposed to say I can't do this, but I'm supposed to say I can do this if, and then I have to explain what are my dependencies, right? So I very much enjoyed this. I learned this during the schooling time and all that. But somewhere when I started started my professional career, uh, somehow this got back of my mind. And again, after working 10 to 12 years into the industry, I came across a theory which resonated with something I knew from my childhood. So there was one incident I wanted to share. Another very powerful quote, and later on all of you can Google, is how might we, right? So let me type that on the chat as well. So nowadays we had a design thinking session as well, right? So there we understood that how we should ask open-ended question and art of that, right? But imagining practicing how might we when we are conversating with our team and setting up a goal. And there is a let me break it up the entire quote, right? uh, by instead of asking can you do this, you cannot do this, how you will do this, those are with biases. Let me explain how might we. How is representing the possibility of doing and kind of encouraging and challenging, right? Might lowers down the priority for a while, but as we know, uh, if we are staying focused, priorities will automatically get built. And anyway, there are enough and more other parameters which are compiling us to do that, right? That is because we are focusing on that. And the last word, we, by default, it includes entire team, right? So you can Google how might we, you will get many interesting articles how to apply that in design thinking. But that is one powerful quote I wanted to leave you to think about when you talk about focus on words, and when you apply practicing power of words to connect with people at emotional level. uh, with this, we'll quickly move to the last topic for the day, which is leadership and self-deception. So basically, yes, there are some, I see some queries in the chat. So after today's session, I will be sharing the presentation and you will get all the links, not only for the videos, but basically leadership and self-deception. This is also I have hyperlinked. This is also I have hyperlinked, which is containing a link of Amazon India site from where you can buy this book, right? So this entire topic is built on Arvinger Institute publication, which is leadership and self-deception. So what is leadership and self-deception? This premises of this book is about all of us is having a problem of a self-deception, which is having a blind spot, which is prioritizing our requirement compared to other. And when we have this problem, they are calling it, referring it as a term that you are being inside the box, as if in a physical box. You are unable to grow. You are not having so good feelings. You are not doing great things. And when you are not having this problem, self-deception, you are outside the box. That's a terminology of this, right? So to understand this better, let me share one story from this book. And I'm sure most of us would have traveled either by plane or train, etc. So do you remember or have you witnessed an incident where, you know, if you are traveling and you are sitting on the middle seat and there is an aisle seat which is vacant, and people are still onboarding, and for some reason, for the sake of your comfort, you are putting your laptop or your blazer just to block the aisle seat and hoping nobody occupy that seat, because that will take away your comfort. Can I have some responses? Would you agree? Have you witnessed this? Have you done this? At least I have done this. Right? Now, interestingly, I'm also sure you would have seen the other side of it. You have seen the other side of it, where uh, if there is a family which is coming in, and you would have seen some kind people that in train, I personally have done this multiple times. At times, you know, uh, uh, we get different seats allocated, and if we are traveling with a family, we end up requesting others, right? uh, can you swap the berths or swap the seats in flight, right? And imagine someone is happily agreeing for. I'm sure you would have either done this or witnessed this, right? Can I get some quick yes? I'm sure answer would be yes only. Have you guys? Sure, right? So understand the difference in a scenario one where we do not want other person to occupy the seat. This is because we as an individual are prioritizing our requirements, our needs, our comfort compared to other person's requirement. And in the latter example, whoever is agreeing for, that is a larger person who is seeing the other person not as an object but as an individual, right? And that is why they are helping, correct? So this is one short story from the book. I hope you got the idea. So practically, when we see other person as an object, we don't offer the seat. We see them as an object. We prioritize our requirements, which means in terms of this book, we are inside the box. And when someone offer the seat, they are looking other person as an individual and not an object. They are outside the box, right? This is one short story. Let me share another story. from this, and I'm sure this again will resonate, uh, because all of us are working professional. So I won't be referring husband wife, but because all are working and all are equal. So let's imagine it is 10:30 at the night, and uh, let's say one of the parent is already in the bed, and there is a they also have a kid, and kid started going cranky. Little 1 year 2 year old kid started getting cranky, and a person who has already gone into the bed uh, is thinking about uh, uh, okay, so uh, hey, guys, can you please go on mute? Will so a person who is in the bed is thought about, let me go and take care of the kids so that other person can take care of other work of household and all like that. But at the same time, that person also think, no, I really had a long day. It has been busy day in office. I have done 15 different things. uh, Overall not so good day, it was very tiring. So I have done so much compared to other person who has done only 1 2 3 things. Have you ever lived this moment? Sometimes. Okay, fine. Thank you. Thank you for your responses and being vulnerable, right? Because I have practically, right? And you can't avoid. So uh, understand what is happening. The moment, again, what you are doing, you are being inside the box by prioritizing yourself. And what does it mean? The moment in this story, the moment you start doing that, you start justifying yourself, and this act automatically and unconsciously triggers an activity which is not healthy, and you start criticizing the other person or try to find excuses or weaknesses of other person. So when you start justifying yourself in that event, unknowingly you start criticizing other person, right? So uh, that is about being inside the box. Now what do you think should be the key, or what we should do to come outside the box in the terminology? Can you come on chat, guys? Selfless, okay. Try understand other person scenario, fine. Empathize, yeah. So first and foremost is uh, change perspective. Yeah, change perspective, that is closure, right? So the very thing is, you are inside the box because you choose to be, unintentionally you choose to be, by looking that person as an object. That is a key. So you have blocked the view. So the key to become outside the box is start seeing other person as an individual, which means try to understand their priorities, their need, and their wants. Which means, Joginder, as you rightly said, that is the next step to do, right? How do you do that? How do you understand what they want, what they need, We don't need any scientific approach or any complex tool. Simple way to do that is walk up to the person and humbly ask, what do you want? What are your needs? And then whatever conversation you will have will be a healthy conversation with that person, where both of you are staying outside the box and helping each other, right? So and again, as I said, uh, okay, so let me quickly spin off one more exercise which will be interesting. uh, so imagine you are in a business meeting, and now, as you know what is being inside the box, outside the box, right? So if you are into the meeting and you realize that other person is inside the box, and you realize that, right? uh, so what should you do? How do you deal with a person who is uh, inside the box, which means who is prioritizing only their need, their want, their requirement, and treating you as an object, which will be a normal working scenario mostly, right? If it's not a healthy practices and engagement, there is enough emphasis on and focus on engagement, right? So how do you deal with that? Should you start justifying to that person? Okay, fine. So yeah, there are some responses and some are bang on. So ideally, the moment you start justifying to that person, you also enter into the box with that person, and there both of you will start justifying your individual needs and wants and your acts, and there is no end of it. So, and when two people are inside the box, however, they will form a strong relationship, but which doesn't lead anywhere, which means one of them has to take a lead and come outside the box. So you have to first be outside the box to help other to come outside the box, right? So that was about leadership and self deception, guys. So if you are interested, you can uh, go to the Amazon site. I have given the link, right? You can buy that book. Mm, a quick recap. We covered what is a servant leadership in agile environment, what is being agile and all, growth mindset, social threats, uh, importance of declaring social identity and small wins, right? Feedback culture, mindset and language for servant leadership, and how different it is than command and control. Brave leadership, language of courage and vulnerability, power of words, which is essentially leading with EQ, VUCA environment, and self-deception. Uh, typically, whatever sessions I have conducted so far, if you really ask me, these all topics, if there is a face-to-face workshop, that's a 1.5 day workshop, or uh, I have delivered 4 virtual sessions, 4 virtual waves, right? And it takes uh, 2 hours per session and six such sessions, which is 12 hours. And that too, we share the pre-work, which is a reading, to the participants. They read, and then we come and reflect together for 2 hours. So what I'm trying to tell you is this was a unique experience for me, because first time I attempted to deliver a session differently, and understand it is a shift from collectively reflecting mode to teaching and coaching. So while I understand we would have done little bit better on time management, but the content were so much. My apologies for taking more time on last week and this week as well. I want to make two requests. Uh, First, by this time, we all have understood feedback is a gift. So please provide feedback. And when you will be responding on Microsoft form and selecting your response on the scale of 1 to 5, my another humble request is, I actively connected with Manoj and requested for the last week session feedback, and I have made some changes and accordingly uh, tried to make today's session more interactive, have introduced couple of exercises and kept the text part less and try to incorporate more videos. So around this change, please feel free and use the comment section as you are giving the feedback, because I won't be actively looking only for this with feedback, but I would also want to learn, have I improved compared to last week to this week and met the expectations or not? Because now, as all we know, feedback is a tool which will help all of us to iterate and improve. So that's my last request. Thank you so much. And these are my coordinates. I'll be emailing this presentation anyway. So over to you, Manoj.
Yes, thank you so much, Kalpesh. Just thought I would introduce all of y'all to my friend, very close friend of mine, Fahad Ahmed. Fahad is basically from Pakistan. He was the president of PMI Karachi chapter. He and I graduated together when we did the leadership masterclass from PMI. So I thought I should introduce him to our Mumbai chapter, and all of y'all, some of y'all also must have met him. And Kalpesh, yes, your beard, you look good. Your beard looks much better this week.
Thank you.
What do you, Fahad, if you can just address the entire team, everybody's out here, we have about 56 people. So you can just, tell us how are things in Pakistan and how you're doing overall.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Manoj, for giving me the opportunity. And I'm very thankful for being part of this wonderful group. And thank you for the presentation. Things are very much similar to what you have in India. Everybody's indoors, and fear factor is very much there, and uncertainty is very much there, and nobody knows what's going to happen tomorrow. And still, what we are trying to do is we are trying to help each other out, and because what we believe is collectively around the globe, not just in Pakistan, we are stronger together in this hour of crisis. So whether it's our neighbor, whether it's our colleague, whether it's a brother, if we are able to help them out emotionally, morally, or whatever manner, so we can get out of this together. So first, Kalpesh, thank you very much. I joined a little late. I'm sorry for missing out on a bigger chunk of your presentation, but still it was fabulous and servant leadership, because myself and Manoj both were part of the leadership course that we attended, a year-long course, and servant leadership is the essence of that course. So we learned a lot, a great deal from it, and it's a fabulous presentation. And we all are servant leaders, no matter what our designation is, no matter where we work, and no matter where we stand in the society. So thank you so much, Manoj, and it's a fabulous feeling to be part of it, because we at PMI, are one big family. And being one thing that keeps us binded or associated with each other is the passion that we have for as volunteers, and that we give time to volunteer activities to our local chapters, to our local communities, and more importantly, to our people. So thank you so much, and I feel really great for and being part of this group.
Sure, Fahad, and I will circle back with you. Probably I will have you take a session out here for our chapter members as well. I'm also going to do with a bit of international speakers starting next month onwards. So I think you met Priya Patra, and she's also collaborating with some speakers. So I'll circle back with you on that.
Yeah, sure, definitely. I look forward to, and I am really honored to be part of it.
Thank you so much. All right, everybody, thank you so much. Thank you, Kalpesh. It was a wonderful session. I know it has been 2 weeks where you're continuously given us sessions, and I think you also deserve a break. But, you know, honestly, I enjoyed it personally, and I'm sure everybody else as well have enjoyed your sessions. And we look forward to collaborating with you further. We can also look at some workshops later on towards as the situation improves, because I'm not sure if this kind of programs can be done virtually, but we can figure that out. Also, last request to all the members attending this session, the visual design, visual thinking or visual design workshop is on Saturday at from 10 o'clock to 2:30. It's a 4.5 hour session. It's a paid session. And I'm extending the early bird till Monday. So I would request all of you to register. You don't need a computer or anything. All you need is a paper and a pen to attend that program. So Kalpesh, I hope I've responded to your last week's question as well.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful Sunday and meet you soon. Bye. Take care, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Manoj. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone. Bye.